You can always tell a Viking myth. They smell. I mean, sure, Greek, Babylonian, and even biblical myths have their share of violence, incest, and depravity, but they always couch it in such poesy that you somehow forget it. Not the Norse. Norse myths drip with sweat, spit, and blood. Case in point. Here is their origin story for the morning star, what we now call the planet Venus, by overwhelming acclamation the most beautiful object in the night sky, as recounted in the Poetic Edda. Thor went home to Thrudvangar, and the bone remained sticking in his head. Then came the wise woman who was called Groa, wife of Earendel valiant. She sang her spells over Thor until the bone was loosened. But when Thor knew that, and thought there was a hope that the bone might be removed, he desired to reward Groa for her leechcraft, and to make her glad, and told her these things, that he had waded from the north over icy stream, and borne Earendel in the basket on his back from the north out of Jotunheim. And he added for a token that one of Earendel's toes had stuck out of the basket and become frozen. So Thor broke it off, and cast it up into the heavens, and made thereof the star called Earendel's toe. Think about that for a minute. The pagan Vikings gazed up at the morning star as it glimmered on the horizon and thought, "That broken bit of blackened frostbitten toe is bright today." No, I have no idea where the head bone came from. The story of Earendel, or Earendel to the Vikings' Englander cousins, would likely have remained yet another forgotten bit of gamey Germanic mythology if it hadn't caught the ear of one particular Anglo-Saxon professor and word enthusiast named J.R.R. Tolkien, who found it, quote, entirely coherent with the normal style of Anglo-Saxon, but euphonic to a peculiar degree in that pleasing but not delectable language. He then incorporated it into his Middle-earth legendarium, though as an Elvish rather than Anglo-Saxon word. Tolkien came up with an entirely more noble myth to explain his morning star's presence in the sky, but as the Tolkien rabbit hole is a yawning abyss comparable to the timeless void beyond the walls of the world, I shall not recount it here. Nonetheless, it was partly this Tolkien connection that inspired Brian Welch, then a doctoral student at Johns Hopkins University, to grant it to a star that he and a team of researchers discovered in March 2022. Quote, "I'm a huge Tolkien nerd, so that was one of the first name ideas that came to mind for a distant star," he told Sky and Telescope. "When I looked into it further and found that the Old English word Earendel actually refers to the morning star, I was pretty much sold on the name. The name is indeed apropos, for this Earendel is the farthest star ever observed by humanity, at redshift 6.2, which corresponds to a distance of 28 billion light-years, double the distance of the previous record holder. This would place it at a time when the universe was less than 1 billion years old, as it were, the cosmic morning. It was found using a combination of the trusty Hubble telescope and the gravitational lensing of a giant galactic cluster. If masses are high enough, they can bend light from behind them into view, acting like natural cosmic-scale telescopes. This allows astronomers to glimpse objects they would never see otherwise, such as an individual star at gigalight-year distances. Initial estimates suggest that Earendel is very bright, with a surface temperature greater than 20,000 kelvins and a mass at least 50 times that of the Sun. While these numbers are impressive, they are not unheard of among stars today, but they do recall astronomical tales of truly gigantic stars, up to 1,000 times the mass of the Sun, spawned in the first years of the universe. These so-called population 3 stars, predicted for decades, have yet to be seen, but Earendel presents us with a vision of one of the first stars to come after them. And on the 30th of July, the James Webb took its first image of Earendel. Aside from that, the team have not announced any data, so consider this a part 1, particularly given the planned follow-up in December that should tell us what Earendel is made of.